guys, welcome to a very exciting Sunday. It probably looks a little different because I'm still in my corner, still feel very banished back here and still touching my plants with my arms. But we have three awesome guests today to help us think about this idea of gifts a little bit better and how we've been talking about how do we use our gifts in the workplace. I'm so glad you asked because we have three amazing working human beings who are going to answer some questions for us. So, I'm going to introduce us to our panel. Well, I'm not going to introduce us. They're going to introduce themselves. We are going to start with a man who probably doesn't need an introduction, but he's going to do it anyway. Mr. Wesley, hi, how are you?
Hey, Leah, thanks. My name is Wes. I am the eighth grade guys leader. And I currently work at Boys and Girls Club of the Foothills. It's in Monrovia. And a cool fact, different fact about me is I was in a soap opera when I was a kid. So there's that.
That is very fun. And I have so many questions, but to leave the kids hoping for more, we're not going to have you answer that. We're just going to talk about that later. Wow. So much explained, but still so much unknown. I like that. All right, our next one, who I'm sorry, you guys, but is my personal favorite. We have Miss Liz. Everyone, cheers for Miss Liz because she has the difficult duty of being Josh's mother.
Very true. That was also my random fact, but okay.
I snagged it.
I don't have a cool enough fact like Wes's. That was pretty cool. Man,
that was a good start.
Well, I am Liz Speaks, Josh's mom, otherwise known as Josh's mom. And I am a middle school teacher. Fun fact. So I know, very exciting. Very exciting. So yes, middle school is something I love and I understand very well. And so yeah, that's what I do every day. I'm a teacher and I teach math and English. And I teach middle school special education. So if you want another fact about me other than Josh's mom.
If you can think of one.
I have tons of pictures of Josh. If you guys ever want those, you can email me. You guys can hit me up. I got you.
You guys don't worry. I will do that. I will look them up and we will have them in an archive and I will send them out randomly. Thank you, Liz, for your participation.
No problem.
Last but not least, we have the majestic and driving very safely, Jess Baker, who is one of my favorite people.
Hello. Happy to be here. Currently literally driving home from work, but safely, hands-free, except hands on the steering wheel. And I currently work for a company called Alpine Corporation, where I do product photography, videography, and graphic design work. And I also, on the weekends, photograph weddings and family portraits and senior portraits. And a fun fact about me is for my senior art show at APU, I did a cast of my body and then covered that in gummy bears. So,
this is true,
there you go.
And it is as cool as you think it is. It's majestic, just like Jess. Sweet. Thank you, Jess. Okay, so this is so exciting. We have three very different jobs and thingamadoogs. And so we have come up with some questions for you guys. And so we're really looking forward to your answers. Okay, so my first question for you all is, how did you decide to end up in your line of work? And once again, Mr. West, we're going to throw it your way.
For me, it's making lots and lots of money. No, I'm totally kidding. I work in nonprofit, which kind of goes with the word. A lot of those organizations don't make a profit. They just raise money just enough to run their company. So Boys and Girls Club, for example, after school care and teaching young men and women and boys and girls, everything from sports to tutoring to a whole bunch of different categories. My main encouragement and the reason why I'm in these fields has to be my parents. So my mom, some of you may or may not have met her before. She was a pastor for almost 20 years. And so a lot of that, again, church is also a nonprofit. So that encouragement and that kind of drive towards what I wanted to do with my life. The second half is my dad. So my dad worked at the YMCA since he was 21, so almost 42 years at the YMCA, which again is also a nonprofit. And so naturally, I helped out at the church when I was younger. I helped out at the YMCA when I was younger, and YMCA was my first job. And so getting into nonprofit just seemed like a no-brainer.
Perfect. Awesome answer. Thanks, Wes. That is so good. I feel like a lot of us do have those moments of like adults really do help us start thinking of like, oh, there are other things than being a banker, like all these movies tell me that most people are. Now we're going to ask the same question of Miss Liz.
So initially, when I graduated from high school, I was going to be a nurse. That was kind of like the first goal that I thought I wanted to do. And so that was where I thought I was going to be. And halfway through that, I kind of thought, being a teacher would be kind of cool. So I kind of was in the position where I wasn't sure how I could do both in some sort of way. Fast forward to a situation where I was teaching special education, and it kind of merged my two worlds together. And I kind of found myself in a really awesome place where I felt like I lived in both worlds in some respect. And so I kind of just found my happy medium. And so it was really exciting for me. And that's kind of where I landed, and really happy I did.
Awesome. I'm sensing a pattern of people.
Yes.
Like people person, but there's been multiple, so we have to be people. So like
For
multiple.
sure.
Sweet. Okay, now for our photographer, Jessica Baker. Jess, how did you get into photography?
That is an excellent question. A lot of people ask me the question of how did you know you were an artist, or how did you know you want to become an artist? And what I tell people is it really wasn't a choice, it's who I am. And so to be creative and to constantly be discovering new things and presenting those new things to people is just something that's something I have to do. It's almost something I'm compelled to do. So it's almost less of an option, and it's more just that's what God put me on earth to do. And I knew that from a really, really young age. So I knew from a young age, and especially after even graduating college, that whatever job I landed in, it needed to be something that was creative, and it needed to be something where my creativity could touch other people in a positive way. But the thing I'm most passionate about is photographing people in weddings in particular, because I love the idea that a couple, 20, 30 years down the line opens up their wedding album and gets to look at the photos that you captured and the memories that you gave them.
Jess takes great pictures. My mom still holds our Christmas photos from 2 years ago very dearly. Now we know how you got to your line of work and how you made that decision. So now we want to know specifically for those of our students who are starting to ask this question of like, okay, I know what I like to do, and I know kind of the trajectory of where I want to go with these passions. We want to know, how does your faith and your relationship with Jesus impact the way you go about your job, your day-to-day interacting with coworkers, with your students, whatever that capacity looks like. And once again, at the top of the round is Wesley.
My faith has a huge part to do with my work. Obviously, being in direct service to youth, to people, you have to have patience. You also have to have that connection. When I was in middle school, we took a spiritual gifts test, which was really, really cool. And one of my top spiritual gifts was exhortation. And that's just a fancy word for meaning encouragement, right? So to be able to encourage others, to be able to walk alongside other people's lives, hopefully inspiring it for the good. Sometimes when you work with youth, or when I work with young people, you don't really get to see that right away. The development, the connections, the relationships usually take years and years and years. So if a student will come back after they've graduated college or coming back, then you kind of see the fruit of, what we do at the Boys and Girls Club, what we did at the YMCA. So exhortation is definitely at the top of that list, to be able to encourage others to do their best. That comes from faith, right? That comes from Jesus teaching us that there's nothing wrong with keep on trying, even if you don't succeed, to have that patience to fail, to get back up, but to encourage nonetheless. And so that the encouragement is really the key to the foundation of, how I live my life, what I do at my job, because I can't really see every single day a positive encouragement. It's really tough to always get that every single day. So to kind of look to the future, to grab onto those really cool moments when they happen, is a great way to find what you love, to do what you love, and to keep with it.
Awesome. Next up, we have Liz Speaks.
Knowing your gift and your passion, your job should not feel like work all the time. You're definitely going to have those days when it does feel like work. And I also think that how you present yourself every day is being Jesus. I think that your coworkers, seeing you as a human being, and being Jesus is the best witness you can do. I think that you don't always have to say the name of Jesus all the time. It should just kind of come through you. And in that, for me, my students, their families or their parents, my coworkers, my just the people I come in contact with every day at a school, I want them to see it as not like, oh, there goes Liz, the Christian lady. I don't want it to be that. I want it to just be, hey, she's pleasant to be around, or she's cool, I like her, or and I want my students to feel like I'm someone that they can come to. For my line of work in particular, I have no better example of a teacher than Jesus. And so I try to use that as best as I can. How did he teach people? He didn't just have favorites in a classroom, or he didn't have people that he thought, oh, I'm just going to go talk to these kids because they're really good, or they're really smart, or whatever it is, And so I try to remember that as much as I can. And I think in any line of work, whatever it is that you do, if you kind of keep that reminder of who Jesus was and is, and that's what we aspire to be, I think that will come through, and no matter what it is that you do. But I think whatever your gift is, I think that's the most important. Just finding what it is that you're passionate about. Jesus gave you something, whatever it is, and just kind of figuring that out is key.
Well said. Love it. All right. Over to Jess Baker.
To try to find or choose to find the positivity in any work situation that you find yourself in. And I was in a work situation where I was like, I don't want to stay here forever, but I want to make everybody around me happier. One of the spiritual gifts that God has given me is the ability to be joyful and spread joy. And so for most people, if you can spread joy, then happiness follows. And so for me, that's always been a big thing I've tried to do. And so basically at this place I was at for 2 months, I went, okay, I'm going to get in. I'm going to get to know as many people as I can. I had told Leah stories where people started coming up to me and telling me things that were bothering them. And you could tell that people just needed people to talk to. And so I thought, okay, I can be that person for these people, which has nothing to do with photography, but all has to do with that faith element and knowing if God has given you the gift to be a good conversationalist or maybe a good listener, then implement that in whatever work you're doing. And when I left after 2 months, I was really shocked because people were genuinely sad that I was leaving. And I thought, I've only been here 2 months. These people don't know me. I don't really know these people. But I didn't realize that just the simple act of listening and choosing to be joyful every day at work, even when I didn't want to be, in 2 months, it affected people.
Love this. This is an awesome conversation that it reminds me that each of us has a call of here's where I want you to work, and passions of here's how you can incorporate things you're passionate about. And I really love what you said, Liz, and Jess and Wes, you also said this in different ways, but this idea that we don't always have to be walking around proclaiming the literal name of Jesus in everything we do of I'm being nice to you because Jesus would be nice to you. That sounds super condescending. So just the idea of our actions are a way of proclaiming Jesus that we talk about in middle school pretty often. Hey, your actions are reflections of who you say you belong to. It's the age-old question of WWJD. What would Jesus do? Jesus would be a listener. Jesus would be a safe space. Jesus would be compassionate, joyful. even in times that are not always opportunities for us to feel that joy and compassion, but to be able to share that with others. So our last question for you guys, I am so thankful that we have an opportunity to ask this, because it's, why is it important to incorporate your faith into your job and outside of the church, like church being the big church, not just Lake? Top of the round with Wesley.
Simplest answer is because I can't do anything else, right? My faith drives my life. I would be completely lost without it. I can't turn it on and off. I can't just turn it on for church and then go to work and turn it off. It's a part of who I am. It's what makes up my being, my soul, my flesh and blood. Like I said, I'd be completely lost without it. To walk, to try to be even 1% like Jesus would be, I could die happy, right? Sometimes I don't want to be at work, and sometimes it's a tough day. But the reason I make it through each day at work, the reason that I love my work so much, is because my faith, and because, again, going back to my parents, those values that they taught me to, it's really easy to want to be bad or to sin, to lie, to cheat, to steal. That's the easy way out. But if you want to fulfill your soul, it's the hard way, right? To be good, to own up when you make mistakes. Sometimes taking responsibility, even when it's not your fault. That's probably the hardest thing to do. But as a manager, as leading other people in the different jobs that I have done, sometimes I have to do that. Sometimes somebody messes up, right? And I can't just point the finger and say, well, they messed up. That's not me. I manage them. I'm the one that's a leader over them. I have to take responsibility for training them, for them being part of my team. And then who's the number one person that teaches that? Like, that's Jesus, 100%. That teaches forgiveness, teaches acceptance, teaches love. And just to sum it up, I could not work. I could not be at a job without my faith, because it is such ingrained part of who I am.
On to Miss Liz.
And so I think my faith drives everything in me. And I don't think I could get up and go to work every day if I didn't have my faith. I don't think I could deal with some of the things that you deal with on an everyday basis, whether it's in work, at U.S. students, in school, in some of our home lives, and just some of our friendships, whatever it is, without your faith in Jesus, it's really hard. And so I think that incorporating that in my everyday life is, sometimes I have to kind of pull myself aside and say, okay, God, I need your help right now. Or, I need to kind of take a breather, or whatever it is. But for me, I just feel like it's very important to be that example in an everyday life for not only my students, but people that I work with. Some of you that are at school, you might have that teacher or that person or the counselor or whoever it is, could be the custodian, it could be the lunch person, whoever, that is the person that you feel comfortable with. They make you feel accepted. They make you feel loved. They make you feel, when they see you, there's a smile on their face every day, and that's my goal. My goal is to be that for my students. I don't know what they're going through every day. I don't know what they woke up with that morning when they come into my class, and I want them, for the time that they're in my classroom, to feel like they are loved and accepted. And that's a safe place for them. And it's a place where they can come and just be who they are, and they're going to be loved for that. And I feel like that's what Jesus does for me. Wherever I'm at, he loves me the same. I think of students as their job is school. And so when you're at school every day, you're at work. And so your fellow friends and peers are your coworkers. And so what you do for them is very similar to what we do as adults with our coworkers. And so if you're that person that your friends can come to, if you're that person that brings a smile to your friend's face or other students in your class, whatever it is on the everyday, if you're that person, you're being Jesus.
Thank you. And to finish out this time, we will swing over to Jess Baker.
It becomes a part of who you are. It's not something you have to think about. It's just like Wes said, it's who you are. It's like Liz said, it's who you want to be. You want to be more like Jesus. You want to do all those things. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a relationship with God and with Jesus. And I don't even know what that would look like. I've grown up a Christian like my whole life. So for me, like, that's it. I've never known anything different. And I'm okay if I don't know anything different. One of the things in the Great Commission that Jesus calls us to is to spread the word and spread the gospel. You know, we are called to point others in the right direction towards the kingdom is something that I know all three of us probably take very seriously. And so for me, I get to do that in my job, but I also get to do that outside of church and just in my friend groups. I have plenty of friends who aren't Christian, and maybe I'm the only example they have of what that looks like. And so to me, it's a good kind of pressure. It's a pressure that keeps me on my toes, and it keeps me humble and constantly going back to the humility of, like, Jesus didn't call me to be perfect. He just called me to do my best. Am I doing my best every day? And knowing that that's enough. And there's going to be days where you don't feel like it's enough, but it is. Because the way God made you is exactly how you're supposed to be. So just love yourself, and then love God and love others. And if you can love God and you can love yourself, then loving others is pretty easy.
Thank you guys. Seriously, it has been not only helpful for, I know our students, this is going to mean a lot, but from me, this means a lot that you guys are not only using your gifts in your workspace, but you're using your gifts right now in this moment of being able to talk to students and be yourselves with your students. And I know that this is going to be so great. So thank you to each and every one of you. I'm going to pray to kind of send us off as we finish up this time. Gracious and holy God, I thank you for each of the faces that are on my screen right now. I thank you for Wes and all that he does for you and does, like, through your power at the Boys and Girls Club. I thank you for the way that Liz is able to speak without saying your name and act the way that you would act for her students at school. I thank you for Jess, as she uses not only her passions and her gifts of creativity to meet many people, but God, to bring those people at ease in a time where memories are literally captured, where times with your family, with your friends are captured so you can keep them and remember those moments. God, thank you for these nuggets of joy, for this conversation. And I thank you for each of these as they continue to impact your kingdom. And God, they continue to impact our students here at Lake Ave. You are gracious, you are holy, and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, students, you are seen, you are loved, and you are needed. We'll see you later. Toodles.
Bye.